Okay, well, I am going to mute myself. Start when you feel ready.
Okay. So, just as a quick disclaimer and trigger warning, I will be talking about sexual assault and rape and violence. So, just to let you guys know. I remember when I was 18 years old, my family went to Taiwan for the summer just to visit some relatives. And one day I was hanging out with my 25-year-old cousin at the time, and he asked me, "Hey, do you want to see something funny?" And at first, I thought he was going to take me to like a bar because the legal age of drinking in Taiwan is 18. But no, he said, "I'm going to take you to a sex store where they sell adult videos, porn magazines, and sex toys." Like, at first, I was thinking to myself, why? But then after I'm like, I have nothing else better to do. So just lead the damn way. So the location of this sex store was not in some like shady back alley. No, it was like in the middle of the city in broad daylight, like on the second floor of a building. And like at the store, it was like filled with customers. Like, and here's the thing: every single one of those customers, they didn't feel like insecure or like ashamed of being there. They felt like pretty nonchalant about it. And I kid you not, I saw like an old man with like a walking like stick, just like casually browsing the porn like magazine section. It was like to me, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is just normal, I guess. So in Taiwan, porn is legal, but prostitution is illegal. And this is somewhat similar to the laws that we have here in the USA. And there are a lot of people who think and believe sex work should be illegal. And similar to Sammy's topic, I'm here today to try and convince you why we should decriminalize sex work, because the people who do sex work deserve worker and human rights. Now, sex work is defined as the exchange of consensual sex for money or goods between two adults. And in the United States of America, sex work is illegal except in the state of Nevada, where it's legal in a few counties. So if sex work is considered illegal in the majority of America, why is porn legal? Well, the reason why is because porn stars are considered as paid actors, while prostitution is paid for sex. Not only that, because porn is being filmed by a camera, it makes porn considered as an art film. And not only that, it's protected by the first, and because it's considered an art film, it's protected by the First Amendment of the US Constitution, which is the right to free speech. So why is having consensual sex on camera for money legal, but consensual sex off camera for money illegal? It's absolutely hypocritical. And why is it so wrong to give rights to sex workers who want to do the job off camera? It's important to acknowledge that sex work is a dangerous field, and by criminalizing it, we are making it worse. The Human Rights Watch organization researched and found throughout various countries that criminalization has consistently made sex workers more susceptible to violence, assault, murder, and rape. The outlaw of sex work also hurts their ability to seek justice for crimes against them in the fear of being arrested. In fact, in one study of 783 sex workers, they reported that 70% of them never disclosed their like occupation to a healthcare professional, with one woman explaining that she was raped and was afraid to be judged by the hospital and that they would call the police. Meaning, like, because of the nature of the job, sex workers have less access to health care. And speaking of the police, sex workers are more prone to police violence and abuse because of criminalization. In one 2008 study, nearly 1 in 5 sex workers said that they had been asked for sex by a police officer, with one respondent saying that she had been made to perform sexual favors to avoid being charged with prostitutions. Furthermore, a couple of years ago, according to an article by AP News, federal agents allegedly engaged in 17 sexual encounters with women engaging in massage parlors in a sting operation. All these heinous actions enacted by the police face no reparations or justice for the victims, because in many US states, it is not specifically illegal to have sex for their jobs during a sting operation. This basically means that police officers are allowed to have sex for their jobs legally in order to stop people having sex for their jobs. If that does not sound ridiculous or abusive, then I don't know what you would consider as just crossing the line or just unacceptable in any way. Not only that, using condoms puts sex workers at greater risk, because in because the Human Rights Watch found in a 2012 report that police and prosecutors used a sex worker's possession of condoms as evidence to support prostitution charges. Because condoms can be used as evidence for prosecution, many workers are reluctant to carry them for the fear of being arrested. Thus, forcing sex workers to engage in sex without protection and putting them at a heightened risk of contracting HIV or any other STDs. Empathy and sympathy are their strength, they're not weaknesses. And being able to put yourselves in the shoes of a sex worker, or at the very least understand the position and perspective they're in, you'll come to find out that due to the stigma of their jobs, like everything is against their like favor, and like they're not even treated as human beings, like with thoughts of their own situation. It feels helpless, and it's frustrating to see people be viewed less because of their job, because their job is not seen as valuable or important or not contributing anything to the society or economy. It's frustrating. So what can be done? So what can be done to help sex workers? We can start by viewing sex work as an actual job. It's a way for people to put food on the table, and it's a way for people to survive. Some of you may be wondering, aren't there some sex workers that are part of human trafficking? That you're absolutely right. However, the main issue is that sex work often gets conflated with human trafficking. It's the assumption that no sex worker has ever entered the trade by choice. People from a variety of backgrounds do it for a variety of reasons. Just like Nikki said, human trafficking is a massive abuse of human rights and a crime, and any form of human trafficking should be investigated and prosecuted and have reparations. However, despite just assuming that sex work is human trafficking, you're perpetually reinforcing the stigma of sex work and marginalizing an already marginalized group. And an important step towards destigmatizing sex work is to decriminalize it. Decriminalization is the means to remove the criminal penalties for buying and selling of sexual acts, and this includes laws targeting clients and brothel owners. Decriminalization goes a long way with recognizing sex work as work and protecting the rights of sex workers through labor law, workplace health, and safety regulations. Sex workers can also use the justice system to seek remedy for discrimination and abuse. They can also seek help from healthcare workers or friends with less fears of consequences. And even when sex work is decriminalized, the prostitution of minors and human trafficking can and should remain criminal acts. And not only that, by decriminalizing sex work, you're also helping fighting against human trafficking by allowing human trafficking victims come forward and feel more comfortable in reporting. And also, sex workers no longer have to feel like the consequences of having a criminal record. And here's the thing, we can see the positive effects of decriminalization by looking at the country of New Zealand. In 2003, New Zealand decriminalized prostitution. And in a 2008 study, they found that after decriminalization, sex workers felt more comfortable in reporting abuse and were more able to negotiate safer sex practices and refuse unwanted clients. And in New Zealand, any sex worker can work for themselves or in a brothel, and brothel owners have to have special certification and verify that their workers are over 18 and use safe sex practices. Not only that, sex workers in New Zealand have successfully sued over sexual harassment that they experience on the job. Now, decriminalizing sex work is not the perfect solution, but it's a first and massive step towards making sex work safer for the people who do it. And here's the thing, decriminalization is on it needs to be done on the federal level. Like, we as individuals can't do a lot, but so what can we do as individuals? Well, I would say you could donate to nonprofit organizations that advocate and believe in decriminalizing sex work. But a lot of us may not have the money to spare or have extra money to donate. So here's what you can do. If you do know of a sex worker or encounter a sex worker, change your attitude. Just be respectful and don't judge their occupation. And not only that, if they ask for help or are in need of assistance, listen to them and do what you can to help them. Because at the end of the day, they're still human beings and they should be treated as one. And by just listening to sex workers and being respectful of them, you're hoping in a way advocating for destigmatizing for destigmatizing sex work. Thank you.